Hi, my name is Harry Tiemann, and this is the story of grace working in my life. Approximately 7 years ago, my wife was very sick with cancer. We were going through a lot. We had been married for 30-something years. I was just kind of heartbroken that there's nothing I could do to fix her or to make her better. I really didn't believe in God or know anything about the Bible or about Jesus. And I remember catching a pastor on TV one time, and he said that get yourself in a Bible-based church. So I saw the sign out there of this church, and so I had to come in here that day, and I didn't know what to expect. I expected lightning to strike me when I walked in them doors, but I seen that the people were doing worship music and how happy everybody was and how kind they were and how they greeted me. And literally I was in tears when I just heard the worship music. I just felt something. There was something here that was good, and was happy that I had been struggling with my wife being sick for a couple of years, and there wasn't much happiness in there. Along with, I had a stressful job and life was just still coming at me no matter what was going on. So, and not too long after that, my son was killed in a motorcycle accident. So I felt that God was preparing me by bringing me in here 3 months before the accident. My son Marshall was outgoing and happy and just had loved to help everybody else. Mine and his personality were the same. Just love life and live life and help other people and enjoy. And man, we fished together and we worked on cars and we rode motorcycles together and we did, everything together. So he was he had a little girl, and he was a great father, and he was just a great son, and he was just, everything a father could ask for. Me and my son were very close. He was 29 years old. We did everything together. We were like best friends. Our only child, he was our only child, so. And he helped take care of my wife at night, or during the day when I was at work. When I would come home, I would take care of her at night. So it was just a shock, just a slam in the face, like life wasn't bad enough, and that would just drove me to the ground. I literally just broke my heart, just like no feeling I could ever say. First off, that morning of the funeral, I remember I couldn't get out of bed, and I said, Lord, I just can't. I had learned enough about the Lord in 3 months, and I knew He was there. I felt His presence, and that morning I said, Lord, I just can't get out of bed and do this. And it's the first time I literally felt God's presence in my life, and I could feel Him literally lift me out of that bed. I literally felt His hands on my shoulders and lifted me out of that bed and said, I can do this. I'm here with you, my son. And then I went to the funeral, and I remember Gary, our pastor, asked me if I would say something at the end of the wake, and I just said no, I couldn't. I was just so broken up. There were so many people there, but I remember speaking later about God's grace and about forgiving the girl that actually caused the accident that killed my son. So, and I remember that was the Holy Spirit speaking through me. It wasn't me speaking. At the end, I really don't remember what I said until people had told me later what was said. But that day was the first day I actually felt the Holy Spirit, the God's presence in my life. Literally physically, emotionally, mentally, in my heart. That I felt God's presence. Oh boy, since that day, that's the only thing that has gotten me through is God's grace. And then knowing that I wasn't alone, I wasn't going through this alone, that God promised I feel every tear that you cry. I know the sorrow that you're going through, but I am here with you. God's promises, in the Bible, all God's promises come true, and He was there for me. I was still sad, I was still sorrowful, and my wife was still very sick at the time. It just devastated her, of course, and but God I could just feel the Holy Spirit, and His presence was there with me every day to continue on, and life has to go on, and to help raise my granddaughter, and to help take care of my wife, and just the only thing I'm telling you was God in my life. Otherwise, I felt suicidal. But the prayer and God's presence was just there. It's hard to explain, but His presence was just there with me. I could feel His presence, which I still feel every day. The sorrow is still every day, but I feel His presence every day. Oh yeah, my wife was still very sick. We never recovered from losing our son. And I had to go back to work. I had been off work for a couple of months, and I had to go back to work that day. And so I came home early that day, and she was laying in bed, and she was real sick. She said, I just don't feel good. And I remember she asked me for a glass of water, and I went and got a glass of water. And she sat up and took a sip and looked at me, and her eyes rolled back. And I called the ambulance, and they come and they worked on her, and they, right there in our bed, and they just kept doing chest compressions and put her in the ambulance. And they revived her they gave her a shot to her heart, something revived her. And then I remember going to the hospital, and they said she's not going to make it. We're laying in the bed. They took all the tubes and everything out of her and the equipment off her. I sat there and I held her hand. And I sang Amazing Grace to her. Because she loved that song, Amazing Grace. She would ask me some nights she couldn't sleep. She would ask me, would you sing Amazing Grace to me? I loved to play that song on the guitar. It was just from my life at that time. So I sang Amazing Grace to her, and as I sang Amazing Grace to her, she passed about in the middle of the song. I just remember feeling just heartbroken, but relief because she was so sick, and I hated to see her suffer. She was down to like 70 pounds. She was just so sick, but I knew that she was in heaven with God. I knew that the angels had taken her. Like I say, at the time it was so heartbreaking, yet it was such a relief because I knew where she was. And I knew when God promised me, and I could just feel His presence there, that don't worry, you're going to be with her again. You're going to be with her again. And I lived by that promise and that hope that God gives me, that I'm going to be with her again and my son again. So, losing my son was hard, and it was the hardest thing to do, to lose a child, I know that. But my wife, we'd been together for 42 years, and it was a week after our 39th anniversary. God, it just devastated me. Just devastated me. So with God's grace, I swear, He just kept me going and promised me. I felt these tears, and the sorrow was going to go away someday. And it's been 2.5 years, and I still think of her every single day. But I look up to God, and He gives me enough grace, and He leads me places, and He gives me things to do, and lets me share my story, and lets me help other people who've lost their wives, and just leads me in the right direction. And like I say, but God, I don't know where. If it wasn't for God, I certainly would have taken my own life at that time. I mean, it was so hard. The heartbreak is just, it's unexplainable, unexplainable. To get on your knees and pray. It's all about relationship with God. That if you trust in Him and you believe in Him, and He tells me in that good book, that my owner's manual, I call it, that this is not my home. That there is sorrow, and this is a broken world we live in, but this is not my home. And He promised me someday, and I know His promises all come true, that I'm going to be in heaven. There will be no more tears, there will be no more sorrow, and that I will be reunited with my family again. He's given me a joy and a peace among all this that's hard to explain. His grace is so great, that His love is so great. There's nothing greater than His love. It just overwhelms me and overtakes me and comforts me and gives me the strength to persevere and to try to help others.